take your most exciting Rebel video, and I'd say 70% of people would say, "Oh, I want to watch more of this." This is what the documentary adventure of the Rebel News is. It's our most exciting content in long form, so you get every single aspect of it. And you're right, there's no the government of Canada isn't behind a single penny or a single minute or a single second.
In fact, it seems as though we specifically produce things that the government hates. And hates us for. And it's a really great point that, we have journalists. For example, you were embedded with the Coutts border blockade. And Sid Fizzard, he was there for over 2 weeks. I think you were there for 9 days. And you are rolling film the entire time. Now, you might only see 5 or 6 minutes of the most interesting things that happened that day in the report that came out of that day. But on any given day, you guys had hours and hours of exclusive footage because the CBC, not only were they not going to make the trek down and just basically move to Coutts like you guys did, but nobody trusted them. So they weren't getting the inside story, and they were getting the things that they did report on completely wrong. So, for people they've watched all of our Coutts coverage, for example, there's no possible way that they've seen all of our Coutts coverage, because we even have footage that still didn't make it into the latest documentary.
We have hours that I've only ever seen with my eyes. I didn't even go through it on my camera because I just went through what I know of the story. There was so much stuff there of like more humanizing things that I couldn't even include, which was my biggest regret. Trying to keep it compact in under 4-hour documentary. But yeah, that's exactly right, and that's the best part about venturing out to these longer projects is you get to put everything into it that otherwise you wouldn't see in a report. And that's why the Coutts documentary was the thing, because we couldn't even do reports. There was no service. So I said, I'm going to make one long report. And then I just ended up adding music, and I started cutting things out that weren't as interesting. So I was able to actually make like a theatrical, I hate that word, but a theatrical version of what the Coutts border blockade was.
And we've been using Rebel News shorthand when we're saying Coutts documentary, but the documentary itself is called Trucker Rebellion, the story of the Coutts blockade. And that is available at truckerdocumentary.com. And even the premiere, the theatrical release of that was a story in and of itself, because we had the truckers from the blockade show up in a limo and come in as stars of the show. And we didn't even know that was going to happen. It was excellent.
Well, the first day that I found out we are going to have it in theaters, I sneakily texted one of the truckers. I had his number from down there. And I said, hey, I don't know if this would be interesting or weird for you, but I think we're going to play this in a theater. You should come. He said, yeah, maybe I'll come. Maybe I won't. Like, it was kind of still really hot back then of if he should show his face around anything.
Sure.
And then the day of, he's like, do you have an extra ticket? And I was like, I think so. And he's like, okay, well, I'm coming with 25 guys. I only have 24 tickets. And I was like, okay. And then, they pull up in a limo.
That was crazy. It was crazy to see those guys walk in, and they walked in like heroes. And it was a stark disconnect between how we saw the politicians treating them, how we saw the mainstream media treating them, but how the normals of the world treated these guys. They knew what those truckers had done. They had ended the vaccine passports and all the medical and systemic discrimination that came along with it. They had ended that by their actions at the border, and they put themselves at great personal risk to do it. And when you saw how the normal people reacted, they knew the media had been lying to them. They knew that Jason Kenney had been lying to them about what happened at Coutts. And it was just so refreshing to see those guys treated like the heroes that they were.
I'll never forget the story when after the movie, when we had the Q&A, before we got there, 3 of the truckers came up, just walked up on the stage and grabbed a mic, and one of them was saying how he had a 2-week-old baby when the Coutts started, and he left his 2-week-old baby for 17 days to what he said was fighting for other people's freedom.
Well, and his baby's freedom too, I guess. You see your baby, and that's when you see your kids. I'm a parent of 3, and it's quickly one of those things that makes you realize that the future matters, not just the present, because you can sort of power your way through through a busy day or a terrible day, but you want to make the world a better place for your kids. Which I think is a good segue into your next documentary. People can find out the details at, and I know this URL, albertadocumentary.com. And it's really the story of Albertans wanting to decide our own future, whatever that might look like. And that we are going to have these conversations no matter who tells us to shut up. Tell us about your new documentary.
Yeah, well, it was supposed to be just about Alberta independence today. What are the big names saying? What are the smaller names saying? What are the local Albertans saying? What are the lawyers saying? What are the politicians saying about it today? And my first interview was Derek Fildebrandt, the Western Standard, and he answered none of those questions. He went back 117 years.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the hell did I just get myself into? So going forward, I started taking apart Derek's interview and forming different questions of where has Alberta come from? And so in the documentary, it goes from the past 117 years, all the mishaps from joining the Confederation to the United Farmers of Alberta Party, over to the National Energy Program, then to Brian Mulroney, then to the Reform Party. And then we're getting into NDP and the Flora Crossing and the fall of the Progressive Conservatives into the UCP. And then we're an hour and a half into the documentary and people are like, okay, now we can talk about Alberta independence. But we need to set it up first because independence is such a broad subject that I before would have said that it meant independence from Canada as in separation. But it's totally not even close to that when you just say that independence word. And that was why I asked everybody in the documentary is, what does independence mean to you? Because like I said, before I would have said separatism, and now I say it's just about making our own decisions. And that's sure something really easy to say is making our own decisions, but it goes all the way down from being a part of the pension plan to collecting our own income tax to the provincial police force. You can go on and on and on about all these like small, minuscule things that Albertans don't have that, let's say, Quebec has.
Oh, hey, what you just saw there is a clip from my weekly full-length show, The Gunn Show. It airs on Wednesday, but this is the internet. You can watch it whenever you feel like. You just have to become a subscriber to our paywalled premium content. Just go to rebelnewsplus.com to become a member today.